Hey everyone, in a previous lesson we learned how to solve literal equations. Now we're going to do more literal equations that involve a couple more steps. Let's start by doing the first one. We have x squared y equals to t. We are asked to make x the subject, which means throw everything on one side and leave x by itself. X squared y equals to t. We need to make x by itself, make x the subject. So we're going to divide by y and divide by y on this side as well. So we have x squared, t divided by y is t over y. So x squared equals to t over y. Now, have we found x? No, we still have a squared. What's the opposite of squared? Square root. So the opposite of square is square root one side and square root the other side. So the opposite of square and square root, they are opposite one another and they cancel each other out. So we have x and our answer is square root t over y. So x equals to the square root of t over y. It's pretty simple if you follow the steps. Remember, the opposite of square is square root. So whenever you see a square, the opposite is square root. This is how to make x a subject in a question like this. Let's do another one. We have b equals the square root of x plus c all over 2. Again, we are making x the subject. Where do we start? We start by the furthest away from x, which is the divide by 2. So the opposite of divide is times. So we have b times 2 is 2b. And the divide by 2 and times 2, they cancel each other out. So we're left with the square root of x plus c. So 2b equals the square root of x plus c. What do we notice? We have a square root. How do we solve that? What do we do now? We learned the opposite of square root is squared. So the opposite of square root, we're squaring everything. So you square this and you square that. That will cancel the square root sign. So we have 2b squared equals to x plus c. Now the square root sign has been gone. X plus c. The square cancels out the square root sign. Now we are nearly there. We have x plus c. Plus c is minus c. So we have x here. And now we have 2b all squared minus c. That's our answer. 2b all squared minus c. And you can simplify it even further. 2b squared is 2b times 2b, which is 4b squared minus c equals to x. We have made x the subject. So here we notice that we introduce the squared and the square root. But it's the same process as any equation. Similar, but we just introduce something different, which is a square and the square root. The opposite of square is square root. The opposite of square root is square. Now let's do some more. Looking at this example, once again we're asked to make x the subject. We're taking everything over the other side. We have a, or capital A, equals to x squared plus a all over 6. We start with the furthest away from x, which is the 6. Divide by 6 is times 6 times 6. So we have 6a equals x squared plus a. The divide by 6 cancels with the times by 6. So we have x squared plus a. Now, plus a minus a. 6 capital A minus a x squared. So plus a minus a, they cancel out. Now what? Have we finished? No, we haven't. We have x squared. Very important to recognize, to identify. You still have a squared. You have to keep going. We know the squared, the opposite of that is square root. What we do to one side, we do to the other side. So the square and the square root cancel each other out. We're left with x, and our answer is square root everything, the 6 capital A minus the A. So the square root is square rooting everything. That's our answer. X equals to the square root of 6 capital A minus A. This is it. Very easy. Once again, we are identifying that there is a squared. When we know there's a squared, there's a square root to cancel it out. This is our answer for this one. Let's do another one. Y equals to 3 square root b plus x. Before we start, we need to recognize there's a multiplication sign between the 3 and the square root sign. Very important to identify that. Now what do? We start with the furthest from x. Which one's the furthest? 3. 3 times, the opposite of times, is divide. So divide by 3 and divide by 3 on this side. So we have y over 3 equals, the 3 times, it cancels with that. We're left with square root b plus x. So we have completed this far. Now we want to cancel the square root sign. The opposite of square root is square. So we square this side, and of course we square the other side. What we do to one side, we do to the other. We have y over 2 squared, and here we're left with b plus x. The square and the square root cancel each other out. We're left with b plus x on this side. Now what's left? The easy part. Plus b becomes minus b. Minus b and minus b on this side too. So we have y over 2 all squared minus b equals to x. So our answer, y over 2 all squared minus b equals to x. Go through it step by step, understand what we're doing, and you'll notice we are always using the simple equations rules. All we're doing is going through step by step and getting our answer. We're going to do 2 more. Watch and learn. Okay, we're making x the subject. Now this time you need all your brain cells. You need to concentrate. They are a little bit complex. Get ready, learn, watch and concentrate. We have x plus b equals bx plus c. We want to make x the subject. Hang on, what can you tell? What can you identify? You can see that we have an x on this side and we have an x on this side. Whenever you see that, you can recognize straight away that along this equation, somewhere you're going to have to factorize. I'll show you. With experience, with practice, you'll get the hang of it. But I'm telling you now, I'm giving you a hint, somewhere you're going to have to factorize. Watching. X plus b equals bx plus c. How do we make x the subject in this case here? First step is to take the x's all to one side. Take all to one side. So we're going to have minus bx here and minus bx there. So we have x minus bx plus b, and bx minus bx is gone. We're left with c. Is that understood? I hope so. Going again. We want to take the x to the other side with the x. So minus bx, because it's positive, minus and minus. We have taken them here. Now take this term, the b, to the other side. Minus b minus b. C minus b, and here we're left with x minus bx. Now remember I said we're going to have to factorize. Guess what? We're going to factorize here. What do you notice in these two terms? The highest common factor is x. Divide by x and divide by x. So we factorize, the highest common factor is x. X comes outside, open bracket, x divided by x is 1, minus x, and the x cancel out, we're left with 1b, and there it is, c minus b. Now we have the x. We factorized. Whenever you see something like that, you need to go through it and see where you can factorize. We have factorized. In this case, we know there's a times. The opposite of times is divide. So we divide by 1 minus b and divide 1 minus b. So our answer now, x, because they cancel each other out, we're left with x. And here simply c minus b over 1 minus b. We have made x the subject. It's easy, but you need to concentrate. Go through it, understand it. With practice, you'll start to recognize that yes, I need to take the x's to the other side. There they are. Take the b to the other side, keep them there, and we factorize, and the rest becomes easy. Let's do another one. We have t equals to a plus x over x minus a. Once again, we are asked to make x the subject, but what do you notice? We have again an x and an x. We've got to play around with this equation so we can get to a similar scenario to this example here. So let's try and see what we want to do. Let's take the divide x minus a and make it into a times. So we're going to have times x minus a and times x minus a. T x minus a, and here where that goes with that, you're left with a plus x. Now what do? Expand these, t times x and t times negative a, t x, t times negative a, negative t a, and here we have a plus x. You'll notice now this is similar to this example here. We have an x on this side and we have an x on this side. We follow now the same process we followed here. So we take the x's to one side. So let's say take this x over there, minus x minus x. So we're left with a, and here we have tx minus x minus ta. Now we have equals to a. Leave the x's on one side and take away the ta on the other side, make it a plus because it's minus ta, becomes plus ta. So plus ta plus ta. Okay. Now they cancel. We're left with tx minus x. And here a plus ta. What do we do now? What do you remember? The same way we factorized, we have to factorize there as well. So divide by x, divide by x. So we're left with x bracket, because they cancel out, t minus x divided by x is 1 equals a plus ta. So now, what's the last step? There's a times. X times everything. The opposite of times is divide. We're going to divide by t minus 1 and divide by t minus 1 on this side as well. So let's write our answer. X, when we divide by t minus 1, that cancels. And here divide by t minus 1. So a plus ta over t minus 1. That is our full solution. As you can see, it's pretty long, but it comes with trial and error. You need to practice, and at the start you may make mistakes here and there, but with practice you'll know exactly what to do. You got to make a start first. Take the first step, and after you take the first step, you go through and you do one by one. You will need to practice and practice with these ones. They are complex, but with practice, you become perfect.